these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. On this edition, we're going to be talking about defensive end Cam Jordan and his new contract extension. We're also going to be talking about Alvin Kamara getting a 3-game suspension. And we're also going to be talking about Jon Gruden continuing his role as a consultant for the New Orleans Saints. But let's go ahead and get started and talk a little bit about the topic of the day when it comes to the New Orleans Saints. It had to be Cam Jordan. Cam Jordan received a 2-year, $27.5 million extension from the New Orleans Saints. This pretty much lets us know that Cam Jordan is going to finish out his career as a New Orleans Saint. At the end of this 2-year deal, that will put him at year 15, which will tie him for the longest tenure with Drew Brees with the New Orleans Saints. And first off, I want to say congratulations to Cam Jordan. Anybody that follows the State of the Saints podcast knows how much respect I have for Cam Jordan. Cam Jordan came into the league in 2011 as the 24th pick for the New Orleans Saints. And, he was coming out of the University of California, Berkeley, and he was known for being a run stopper. He was known for setting the edge. And, him being in the league, he became one of the most premier pass rushers of his decade, right? And, he was a part of a really good draft class. He was a part of the draft class with J.J. Watt and guys like Von Miller. And, for the exception of Von Miller, he has the most sacks of that draft class. I mean, the fact that you're in a draft class with Von Miller and J.J. Watt and you're right there speaks volumes. Anybody that knows Cam Jordan or sees Cam Jordan knows that this guy loves New Orleans. He gives everything he has to the team. He's extremely durable. He only missed 2 games in his 13-year career out of 194 career games he's been a part of. And also just what he means to the community, going out in the community on off days every single week, going to different schools, talking to kids, mentoring. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better leader than Cam Jordan. So Cam Jordan spoke to the media a little bit about receiving his 2-year, $27.5 million contract from the New Orleans Saints.
I've been truly honored and blessed to enter a market as New Orleans, to enter, everything that you think that you want as a football player, coming up as a man, coming up as a kid with dreams of playing in the NFL, to sit here and be embraced by the city of New Orleans. Just everybody in this building, it has been such a phenomenal and amazing experience that I couldn't see myself being anything but black and gold.
2 years, $27.5 million of them things. Congratulations to Cam Jordan. I'm looking forward to seeing what type of season Cam Jordan is going to have. Cam Jordan has still been in the thick of things. Cam Jordan has been one of those guys, as time goes on, guys have a tendency of kind of slowing down. But you don't really see that from Cam Jordan. You've had guys that the Saints have drafted to try to come in to try to kind of bump Cam Jordan out of the way. And every guy that comes in, I mean, they just take a step back. They just cannot keep up with number 94. And you have some young, talented guys on that defensive line now. They had opportunity to take some first-team reps today due to the fact that Cam Jordan got a vet day off. And, you're looking at guys like Isaiah Foskey. You're looking at guys like Brian Bresee. You're looking at guys like Peyton Turner, Cullen Saunders. I mean, the list goes on and on. You want these guys to be able to step up and not just rely solely on Cam Jordan. It's good that he got that 2-year extension. This isn't one of those situations where, a guy just gets a 2-year extension because he's been with the organization for a long time and they like him. Yes, that is the case, but it's not just that. It's the fact that Cam Jordan is a bona fide certified beast and has been so since he stepped foot in the league. So once again, congratulations to Cameron Jordan on receiving that contract. I can't think of a more deserving individual, a true leader, a true ambassador for not only the Saints, but the entire National Football League. But let's go ahead and move on. Let's talk about Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara came back to practice today. If you're watching this on a Friday, he spent Wednesday in New York City speaking with the commissioner of the National Football League, Roger Goodell, giving his side of the story. I'm talking Alvin, explaining the situation that happened in Las Vegas. I mean, we've heard this over and over again. I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum. The fact that Alvin Kamara was out at Pro Bowl weekend a couple of seasons ago and, got into it with a civilian, and they beat him up pretty badly. Alvin Kamara and a couple more guys, a few of the guys were football players, and the guy was seriously injured. And, of course, since that happened, everybody was wondering what's going to happen with Alvin. Is he going to be suspended? Last year, there was no suspension due to the fact of the case being moved further and further back. But finally, there was a verdict. Alvin had to pay a little bit of a fine, some hospital fees, and do some community service. And I think that number 41 is looking to put this behind him. And he spoke to the media today for the first time, and he was able to be a little bit more open with his feelings in regards to what happened that morning in Las Vegas.
I'll be lying if I said it wasn't tough. I've lost a lot throughout this ordeal. Definitely not looking for any pity, not looking for somebody to give me a pat on the back and say it's okay. I know what I did. I know what I was involved in, and I definitely take responsibility. And that's part of being a man and growing. I'm preparing the same way as if I'm not gonna get suspended. I mean, if I do get suspended, if I don't get suspended, if I do, hypothetically in this situation. Obviously, I mean, I don't expect the team to miss a beat. They got to keep going if I'm here or not, right? So I know these guys, everybody's that's kind of been the question mark. Like, okay, well, is he gonna get suspended? Is he not gonna get suspended? And I don't think Pete or Derek or DA or anyone is sitting here like, well, if Alvin gets suspended, then we can't do this or we can't do that. They're gonna keep moving. They're gonna find a way to figure out how to recruit. I mean, I don't know. It's gonna keep moving. Like, nothing is gonna stop. If I do, I expect them to go and win for however long that I'm suspended.
It's crazy as this sounds. It seems like Alvin Kamara is relieved. Have you ever had something on your heart or something on your mind, and all of a sudden you just start talking about it, and you start to feel a little bit free, right? You didn't feel as shackled as you once did when you were dealing with those emotions. You had an opportunity to let them out. I know that from personal experience, some things that I went through. Anybody that knows me knows my story. But the fact that you're able to release that and let it go, and I feel like that's what Alvin feels. Now, Alvin will serve a 3-game suspension. I talked about the suspension a couple episodes now, and I thought that it would probably be around 2 games, but Alvin is going to serve a 3-game suspension. And, I'm hearing some people talk about maybe he need to appeal it. My question is why, right? I mean, if you're the New Orleans Saints, this is the best thing that could possibly have happened, because you could have easily lost Alvin for 10, 11 games based on the evidence. I mean, it's pretty obvious that he was a part of it. You can see him pretty obviously, doing some physical harm to the guy. And also, there was an Uber driver, of him, having a conversation and talking about it that was circling around. So it's pretty obvious that what happened. So the fact that it's only 3 games that he's going to have to serve, I just think that that's the best news for the New Orleans Saints. You have 2 guys that are capable of filling that role, and Jamal Williams and Kendre Miller, the rookie out of TCU. And the Saints are going to rely on those guys. That's the reason why you got Jamal Williams. He was the NFL leader in rushing touchdowns at the running back position with 17 with the Detroit Lions last year. We all know what Kendre Miller did at TCU, and he also provides some help in the running game. So you have two guys that are capable of holding down the fort until Alvin Kamara comes back from his suspension. I think that Alvin feels free. I think that the fact that you're dealing with this 3-game suspension, you can go ahead and get this over with, and you can finally go ahead and move on with your life. Alvin Kamara, he talked about how this affected him last season when it comes to his play. Some of the friends that he had to lose, some things that had to change in his life. And he wants this not to be a reflection of him. I don't think that Alvin Kamara is a bad person at all. We all make mistakes. Sometimes like we don't use our best judgment, and sometimes that can come back and bite us. But this is a learning situation. It could have been a lot worse for Alvin Kamara. It could have been one of those situations where, he could have did some jail time, because the way that guy looked, I mean, it's only a blessing that this guy is still with us right now. So the fact that, it wasn't nothing too serious to a point where lives were lost and things would really change. That's the best thing about all of this. Now Alvin can put this into perspective, move on, and be that player that we know that he can be. To get this pressure off of him, go ahead and serve that 3-game suspension, come back September 25th after that Green Bay Packers game for the New Orleans Saints, and be that running back that the Saints need to help them get to the playoffs and hopefully a little bit further to the playoffs, to the ultimate goal, which is a Super Bowl in Las Vegas. Speaking of Las Vegas, the former Las Vegas Raiders coach, Jon Gruden, was at practice today. According to sources, Jon Gruden will continue to serve as a consultant for the New Orleans Saints. We know that back in 2018, the Las Vegas Raiders hired Jon Gruden as their head coach. And, of course, Derek Carr was his quarterback. And his relationship with Derek Carr was, not the best. But one thing that you can say is, statistically, Derek Carr had his best numbers and his best seasons under Jon Gruden. I mean, Jon Gruden understands the West Coast offense, and he also understands Derek Carr. But we all know that Jon Gruden's name, when it comes up, it garners controversy, right? Because of the situation that happened, the controversial emails that he sent to Washington Commanders executive Bruce Allen. And, of course, that's what got him, let go by the Las Vegas Raiders. Of course, he has a lawsuit with the NFL right now due to those emails. But no matter how you feel about the situation, one thing that you can say and one thing you cannot take away from Jon Gruden is the fact that he's a really good coach. He is a Super Bowl winning coach. He is a really good offensive mind. And he also understands Derek Carr. And this shows you right here that the New Orleans Saints are really dialed in. They are really focused on winning, and they're willing to win at any cost. And what I mean by that is they're willing to, swallow their pride in certain ways, willing to take the backlash for having this guy around the facility in order to bring out the best in Derek Carr and also to be able to get their offense back on track. We know that the Saints offense was hot garbage last year, averaging about 19 points a game. We know that the Saints really didn't have too many weapons. Some young guys that were trying to figure it out to be pros. The guys that you thought were going to be your key receivers in Jarvis Landry and Michael Thomas, they were dealing with injuries, and it just did not pan out for the New Orleans Saints. And they do not want to replicate what happened last year. They want to take a step forward. Thus, the reason why they went out there and got Derek Carr. And it's also the reason why they allowed Jon Gruden to be in a facility. Look, as a coach, as a signal caller, a guy that understands offensive tendencies, I can completely understand why the Saints decided to bring in Jon Gruden as a consultant. But I am also understanding of how this could look and how it can make people feel. Now, I'm not one of those people that are super self-righteous and, act like my ish don't stink. And, I know what Jon Gruden did, so I'm going to sit up here and act like the biggest social justice warrior you ever seen. I think that people like that, they really bother me because, you're not really putting in the work. You're just trying to sound like the smartest person in the room. I understand, but for those that are really affected by this, I can completely understand this. But I also understand that teams want to win. That's the reason why, some guys that have controversial past or checkered past, they always get opportunity after opportunity after opportunity because of the talents they possess. That's just how the NFL has rolled for I don't know how long. So as a consultant, I don't really have an issue with that because I look at what the New Orleans Saints are trying to do. They're trying to be more effective offensively, and they're also trying to do everything they possibly can to make the transition from Las Vegas to New Orleans smooth when it comes to Derek Carr. But I can understand once again how it can make people feel having Jon Gruden around the facility. He's going to remain as that consultant. I'm pretty sure that he's probably going to help the New Orleans Saints throughout the season. And having a guy like Jon Gruden as a offensive mind in the building will be extremely helpful for the New Orleans Saints. But I understand what comes with it. But I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, youtube.com, search the State of the Saints podcast. We are really close to getting 10,000 subscribers, so help us reach one of our goals here on the State of the Saints podcast, and hit that subscribe button if you have not already. Hit that like button if you enjoy the State of the Saints podcast and all its content. And of course, previous episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?